No, you can still see me, right? Great. I hope so. Anyway, hack number 1 is Incognito. You got to search Incognito. Incognito is, or in a private browser, just means that you open up in Safari, Google, any of the browsers that you use, you hit File and it'll say New Private Window. It's probably a little bit different in Google or Chrome, Chrome rather, or Firefox, but it's just File, and then you use, it'll say either Incognito or New Private Window. This is so that people don't put cookies on you and then follow you as you search around, because then when you go back to their site, let's say it's Cheapo Air, you'll find that the price has raised, which makes you nervous and makes you want to go and buy. So this is sort of the method that they use to get you panicked enough to go ahead and buy. What is the best time to buy? That's a typical question, and I think a lot of people are confused in thinking that you need to buy really far in advance, 6 weeks, a year, 6 months or a year in advance. I hear people really panicking all the time about when to buy. And interestingly, if you think about it logically, it's not that far in advance, because way far in advance, there's no incentive for them to lower prices. Once they get X number of, and if you just joined, just please mute yourself so that other people don't hear the background. So it's actually 6 to 8 weeks out depending on the season. And you can see here that Cheapo Air has done a study with actual specific days, 62 days in advance for winter travel. Spring is booked, I think, I'm not seeing this here, 90 days in advance, and 69, 47, depending on the time of year. They also have a tool that you can use, this one right here, it's just cheapair.com, when to buy flights, and if you can put in your actual route, and it'll tell you exactly when is the optimum time to buy. So it's usually not as far in advance as you think. All right, let's see. Whoops. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Now, which are the best travel dates of the week? This also makes some logical sense, because it's not, anytime you're going for a long weekend, Tuesday and Wednesday are not usually involved. So that eliminates a lot of that, that extra travel that happens during the week. For the weekend. So Tuesday and Wednesday are best days in terms of cheapest days to travel. Sunday is the most expensive, because so many people are going back on a let's go forward. Travel hack number 4, use the best aggregator site, which for me means use a lot of them. I like Skyscanner the best, but I really move around. I use Cheapo Air, I use Cheap Air, I use all kinds of them. I might check, like if I see a flight I want that's JetBlue, for example, I might go on their website, see if it's cheaper. A lot of times it's not. I know a lot of people whoops. I'm sorry, Carol Lee is saying, I agree with the slide, you're using points awkward to yes, if you're using points, that's a whole different story. If you're using points, that's a good question, Carolee. If you're using points, you do need to go far out in advance, and that's really a different conversation, because they usually will have X number of seats that they'll allow to frequent flyer folks to travel. So what I'm talking about today is primarily when you're buying tickets. When you are, though there's a lot of credit cards now, particularly the Chase Visa that is the really thick one, just blanking on the name right now, but it's Sky Miles, and it allows you to get a ticket from any airline. There's no blackout dates, it's just using points. So those are some good ones to look into. I'm not going too much into the points today. But anyway, Skyscanner is my favorite, but I use all of them, and I Make sure that I open a private window each time. So don't get yourself caught back up in your old server, in your old URL, or in your old, your regular Safari or Chrome without going incognito, because then you'll get tagged again. Alrighty. This is me bringing you flowers from Paris. A reminder that you don't need to feel obliged to book a round trip. It used to be that was always cheaper. As a matter of fact, we used to book round trips sometimes when we didn't even need to. We just needed one way because one ways were so expensive. But because of all the discount airlines, and really JetBlue was the one who started doing these one-way, always buying one ways. So for example, I have a tour going this year to Paris and coming from London, and it's not a problem. It's actually a little bit cheaper because coming back from London is cheaper. So obviously the more flexible you are in your dates, the easier it is to find the cheapest day to travel. So if you can search, via the whole month, or at least put that, flexible with your dates check on your search, that's going to get you the best return. Now, the next thing here is my extra little tip that I didn't advertise. It is something I don't even really want to share because I don't want a lot of people doing this, but since you guys were nice enough to take time out and join, so I'm going to share it with you, feeling generous, I guess. What I do is when I book the ticket, I don't always book a seat, but certainly when I'm going overseas, I do. So sometimes you have to pay more for that. That's usually on domestic, just domestic airlines in terms of just flying in the U.S. And we do get a lot of people on our tours from Australia and Canada, so I don't want to single out just the U.S. But I take an aisle seat. I'm an aisle person. You might be a window person. But I take it in the way back, like 2 or 3 rows up from the very, very back. I look for an aisle that's totally open when I book. Then when I board, I am the last, and I mean the very last person on. So that means I can't usually bring a lot of carry-on luggage because when I'm going overseas, which is, most of my trips are going to either California or, because I have relatives there, or all the way to Europe, I just have a backpack. So I can usually scoot that in somewhere. So I'm not freaking out about extra space and all that. And I don't want to be on the plane longer anyway, because it's already going to be 6-8 hours from New York. So I walk slowly to the back and I just keep looking to see where there are extra seats. So what I might do, and what I most always do, is find, if I see that my row is already filled up, but there's another row that has at least an extra seat next to it, or maybe a whole row open, I take that seat. And the worst case scenario is that I wasn't the last person on and someone comes and says this is my seat. And then you just go back to say, oh, I'm sorry, you go back to your seat. So it does take a little chutzpah, but this is a way I've managed to snag economy class, having the whole row to Bali this last year, the whole row to Africa, and so forth. So it makes a huge difference. If you've got the whole row, you can lay down and sleep. That's my extra little tip. So I want to just go ahead and say hi to all the rest of the folks here, and unmute yourself and let me know so far if you have any questions at all. And you can, if you're not able to unmute yourself, I'm going to unmute all. Let's see if I can do that. I think I can. Feel free to ask a question if you have one about what I've covered so far. If you have any other great tips that you want to share with our group, I'd love that. And then I'm going to go ahead and describe to you the tours we've got going in 2009. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to think if you have any questions.
Could you recap the 5 steps?
Sure, I can. Sorry, I know I tried to wait a decent amount of time, but I apologize. Let me just go back. Let's go back real quick to the beginning. So the first one is traveling incognito. Traveling incognito, not traveling incognito, searching incognito, sorry. And that just means when you go on your browser, you file and put new private window or incognito. This way they can't put the cookies on you, which they'll follow you around and hike up the price when you go back to that website. So that's like the most important thing here today, is to make sure you search in the incognito or private browser window for every search you do. Open a new one. Best time to buy. This is a study, and you can actually just go to cheapair.com/when-to-buy-flights. And I will throw that in the comment section too at the end, to find out really what time, what date, how far in advance you need to buy for your particular route. But it's not as far in advance as you think it is. It's 6 to 8 weeks, except for if you're using points, which Carol Lee pointed out. Now, let's see, where's my next one? Cheapest days to fly are Tuesday, Wednesday. Sunday is the most expensive. Use a great aggregator. I like Skyscanner. And don't feel obliged to book round trip. And, be flexible as much as you possibly can in your days. And that extra tip, I think everybody got at the end, but it's a way of getting extra space.
What is aggregator? What is that?
So aggregator just means you're not going to Delta, you're not going to JetBlue, you're not going to AmericanAirlines.com, but you're going to a site that looks at all the different airlines, might put 2 different airlines together where you fly out on Delta, fly back on American. So that those websites are, and there's tons and tons and tons of them, but I think even TripAdvisor does it. The Skyscanner is a great one. Kayak I used to use. I don't find them as good anymore. Expedia, that goes on and on. I'm recommending today Skyscanner. I also use Cheapo Air. There's also Cheap Air. So you can even Google, what's the best, site to book airline travel. The important thing is on that, and this is something that I know a friend of mine is really focused on. It is a little bit more difficult if something happens. Sometimes you need to make sure you get that ticket number from Delta or whatever. I have not had huge problems. It just usually means like an extra call. Cheapo Air has been great in terms of customer service. But some people say, I only want to book on the airline itself. I know that in the case of something going wrong, meaning your flight was canceled or something, it is slightly easier, but you will not get the cheapest air that way. And that's what our goal is today, is to get the cheapest possible flight so you can travel more. At least that's what I want. I'm always I'd rather go one extra trip than have the easiest possible solution. Wonderful. So anyone else have a question? All right, I'm going to go ahead. Whoops. So these are the 10 trips I've got planned this year. And just as a reminder for those who join late, I am going to be giving a special discount at the end of this. So it's just going to be probably another 10, 15 more minutes and plenty of time for you to ask questions. And feel free to interrupt me as I go along. I'm going to keep you guys unmuted, and just as long as there's not a lot of extraneous sound, it should work. So we've got coming up in March a women's weekend. I do all ladies trips. I do sometimes I have couples come, but that's usually for private trips. I did a group of 5 couples last May in Provence. So if you want to come with the guys and you have a group, I can do that. But my specialty is taking ladies from all over the world, and we come together, and by the second day, everybody's laughing. Samantha, who's on the line, has been on one of our trips. She knows what it's like. And it is just so much fun for me to have this sense of connection that we all kind of come from different ages, different backgrounds, different cities, different, lifestyles, everything. And by the end, we're friends. And usually it happens like within the first 24 hours, because I think it's something that we women are really good at. So that's why I lead all ladies trips, because I just think it's really unique and special. And there is definitely an interest and a need out there. And there is no one type of person you can be. I mean, the sweet spot's usually 40 to 70-ish, because we seem to have more time as we get older and perhaps a little bit more money to enjoy. But I did have a 23-year-old on a trip this last year, and she had so much fun that she's moving to France. So we really like the mix. So just quickly, I've got these 10 trips. The first one is Paris, then Provence, which we've done a number of times now. May, I've got basking in Bordeaux, which is Bordeaux and the Basque region. I'm going to go through these in more detail. This is just an overview. The trip I'm really, really excited about is a garden tour in the Ile-de-France and going over to Sussex. I have a friend who has actually an incredible garden in East Sussex in the south of England, and we're going to be not only touring hers, which is a private garden and castle, and then we're going to be going to see some of the really famous, extraordinary ones over there, and I'll show you that. Then in September, if any of you know Georgiana Lane, she's an incredible photographer, has, you know, tens of thousands of followers, and I don't know, about 3-4 books out now. She's going to be doing a trip with me to Paris. So that's for those of you who want to brush up on your photography skills, and even if you're a total beginner or if you're just an iPhone user like me, it's perfect. Then we're going to the Aveyron, which we did last year as well. It was a huge hit. It's an area that my sister has a house in and have been going to for like 30 years. And that's amazing. The first time this year, we're doing a cruise around Corsica, and that's a sailing cruise. So there's actually going to be 2 boats. One's a catamaran, one's a regular sailboat. I'm actually a sailor, so I'm really excited about this. Then we're doing Southwest France and Taking the Waters. Taking the Waters is Eugénie-les-Bains, which is one of these old-time, you know, spa resorts that the French, actually, the doctor will prescribe you to go to this, but it happens also to be a relais and chateau that we're staying in, and it's 3 Michelin star chef. So it's very VIP, that one. And then we're doing Loire Valley castles, but a little bit, we're staying in chateaus ourselves. And then the Christmas markets of Alsace, which is really popular, just did it this year, and it's just a fairy tale land over there. So the first one is Paris, just a weekend. It's focused on women. And let me move this up. We're going to be eating some extraordinary food, which is always the common denominator in my trips. I'm very much of a obsessed foodie. On this trip, we're also going to take some time and do some self-care. So we're going to go to spas or the hammam, which is in the Mosque de Paris. And we're going to go to the flea market. There's some museums, so check that tour out. There is some spaces left, and it's leaving soon in March. And Provence is the trip I've probably been doing the longest. We stay at a villa that was once owned by Albert Camus, the writer of The Stranger. This is it. So it's right out of Ile-sur-la-Sorgue, which is the southern capital of antiques in France after the Marché aux Puces. And this villa is extraordinary. We do get served breakfast every morning, and there's a maid, and so it's like a hotel, but it's all to ourselves. And we go to all the most charming villages of Provence, and we do truffle hunting, which is so much fun. This is my Bordeaux tour. So I have a house near Bordeaux, near Saint-Emilion, who I believe Samantha, who was on the call, she went on this tour, similar tour. It's not exactly the same. This tour, we're going to do Bordeaux City itself, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's absolutely extraordinarily beautiful. And then we're going to go to Saint-Emilion, and do some wine tasting, of course, and walk around in this medieval village, which this is a picture of here. And we're going to go then to stay at the Chateau Haute-Smith-Lafitte. It's my favorite white wine in the world, and they have an incredible spa there called Caudalie, and they use the grape pits to use in all kinds of creams, makeups, massage oils, and so forth. Finally, we're going to end up in Saint-Jean-de-Luz, which is this gorgeous city It's really just a petite city. It's a large village or a small city on the Atlantic Ocean. It's where these Basque linens that I have pictured here. It's the Basque area of France. It's absolutely stunning, and it has its own food, its own culture, its own feeling. I'm really excited about sharing this town with you. Everybody has these gorgeous red shutters. The next tour is also in May, and it's this garden tour that I have planned with my friend, two friends, as a matter of fact. And we've already got a bunch of folks coming, but there is room left. This happens to be, I took last June at Sissinghurst, which was a dream come true. I finally got to go to Sissinghurst, which is probably the most famous garden in the UK, and it's not far from her place, which is near Hastings. This is her house. We will be having a private dinner here. This is really, it's a castle, but she calls it a hall, and we are going to have incredible tours at each garden that we go to.
Where is this hall?
So her hall is in a town called, it's really a suburb of Hastings, which is on the water in the south of England. So we start out in Paris, and then we're going to do 3 nights in Paris. We do some flower tying, and we visit the Bagatelle Gardens with the florist of the American ambassador. And then we're going to go over to the UK.
The Channel, right?
On the Channel, yep. And the nice thing is that you get off at Ashford, which is closer, and then you just drive. We're getting picked up there and just driving over to her house, and we will have.
So it's southeast of London.
Yes, it's about 2 hours south of London, and this area is absolutely beautiful. Rye is one of the famous villages there. We will be hanging out there as well. We're going to be having, of course, plenty of proper English tea. We're going to be touring all these gardens, and we're also going to taste some of the sparkling wine that they're making now. And that's just a really special trip. So obviously for all the details, you're going to go to my website for itineraries and so forth. And this is the trip I was talking about in September now. So I usually take the summer off because we do some sailing. Then I go back in September, and this is Paris from a woman's point of view, a very special and unique trip for women. And the photographer Georgiana Lane is coming with us, and it's the only thing she's doing that's instructional this year at all. So it's a really special time. And this is one of her amazing photographs. She is so talented, and I'm really excited to be doing this with her. This is our trip to the Aveyron, and that is an undiscovered region, sort of in the center of France. This place on the left is one of the hotels. It's really a chateau where we stay, and that's the breakfast room there on the right. It is absolutely extraordinary. We start out in Albi. We see the Toulouse-Lautrec Museum, the Albi Cathedral, which is one of the most extraordinary you'll ever see, ever. This is a little town that we go to, and it's where Valérie, excuse me, I think I need some water. It's where Valérie Giscard d'Estaing, which is very hard for me to say, the former president of France, is from, and there is a castle there that we visit that was his family home. Then we go to the magical villages of Najac, as well as Cordes-sur-Ciel on the route to Compostelle. And this is just a really wonderful trip. If possible, I try and take people to my sister's house and have dinner with her if she is there. So I'm hoping that will work.
When is this?
What's that?
When is this one?
That one is in October. It's on October. It's all on all the dates are on the website, on the details. I just wanted to give you guys a little overview, but no, actually I am wrong. It's in September. It's in September. And it's a beautiful time in that area. It's really extraordinary. They have more plus beaux villages de France in that area, which are the most beautiful villages in France in that area than any other. So very hilly, pastoral, really special, hearty food and so forth. And then something totally different is the end of September, early October. It's still quite warm because I have been there then. We're going to cruise around Corsica. Corsica, as you probably know, is where Napoleon Bonaparte was born. We're going to visit his home in the Ajaccio, which is the main city. And then we're going to mainly, of course, be on the water. But each day we'll go stop somewhere, go in, we'll go swimming, we'll be on the beach, we'll have plenty of time, out in the sun and so forth. But then we'll also get to do some amazing wine tasting. They make incredible wines in Corsica. They also do, it's kind of a combination of Italy and France because it was owned at one point by Italy. So you get a lot of great Italian food as well as amazing French food. And it is rustic, rural, and you've got posh shops like the one here in a gorgeous town called Bonifacio. I ate in this restaurant here on the right, just sitting right on the water, which was quite magical. So obviously great seafood, and it's absolutely stunning. This is one of our last 3 trips, the end of the year. So this is October now, and this is Bordeaux and Eugénie-les-Bains. So it's kind of talks and detox. So you're starting out in Bordeaux, you're doing some wine tasting, and then we end up here at, it's a 3 Michelin star chef. He's over 80 years old. He's been operating this place for 40 years. And we're going to take a cooking class from him, and it's also this gorgeous spa town, and we will definitely be in Saint-Emilion as well. Probably stop at my house, I hope. And then I've decided to do the Loire Valley. I haven't done that yet. Obviously, I've done it myself, but I haven't done a tour yet, so I'm excited about that. We're going to be staying in 2 chateaus. Obviously, this one is not one of them. This is Chambord. So this is one of the largest chateaus. It is the largest chateau in the Loire. It was a hunting lodge, if you can imagine. For those of you who have not been there, this is going to be a great tour to, hit the most, what I think are the most fantastic of the chateaus, as well as stay in chateau. And the first chateau we stay in has a spa. There's going to be amazing dining, and this region produces incredible wines. There's Chinon, which is a darling town. We'll do some wine tasting there. There's Saumur, there's Sancerre, and this is actually from one of the Michelin star restaurant in Blois that we will go to. I always have a Michelin star meal on every tour, and that area is full of incredible restaurants. And then our final tour is the Christmas markets in Alsace. That's absolutely fairy tale wonderland, also an incredible wine region. For the Rieslings are not sweet. They are much more complex, much more interesting than a lot of us Americans know. They also have Gruners. They have a number of different wines, and all the ladies who went with me this last December absolutely loved the wine, as well as the vin chaud, which was amazing. These are them. So connection, that's really what my tours are all about. I think I spoke about that before, and I just love meeting all of you guys from all over the world. And a lot of people are now booking their second. There's a lady who's booked her 3rd tour with me. So I love what I'm doing, and I'm hoping you guys will think about coming along this year. We have some, and we even have a schedule of trips going in 2020 as well. So this is the little perk here. If you decide to book a tour, shoot me an email, or if you're interested in a tour, shall we say, send me an email. Let's chat on the phone. If you decide in the next 2 days to book, I can give you $200 off any of the tours. I will also send you a copy of my book and a Girl's Guide t-shirt. So, and if those of you already have one of those, we will find something else as a gift. So let me know if you have any questions, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Anybody have any questions at all?
Nice to see you, Donnie.
Oh, it was so nice to see you. Look fantastic.
Thank you.
The trip that is going to also go to England.
Yeah.
Do you fly back from London, or you have to go back to Paris? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So I will be dropping ladies off. There's a train station there. Everybody will probably take the train back up. Actually, we're ending on the day that is the first day of the Chelsea Flower Show. So a lot of people are going to be going to that. That is not part of the tour, but that's an optional thing that you can do afterwards, or just spend a couple days in London, or, you know, you could go back that night. So that's a bit of a longer trip. Most of my trips are like 6 nights. Sometimes I think this one is 7. So the only thing about that trip, because it is so VIP and luxurious, and we've got a lot of guides and people involved in a train travel and so forth, I don't have the hotels included in that one. That's the only one that's like that. Actually, that one and the first one in March. So, but if you're interested, I'd love to talk to you about it further.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Bye. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Bye-bye.
Great. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Leave meeting. All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.